In the basic modules, you're introduced to the concept of the posture and the muscles and the relationship of muscles to organs and meridians and to psychology. And you're given a basic introduction, particularly again in Module 4 and 7. And many of you have enjoyed where I wrote short essays that I am the knee and I am the elbow, etc. That you've got this picture of something that's very living and has personality, has psychology, and how you can tell so much about a knee complaint, about what's going on in the person's body. And so most of you have been introduced to this whole idea. And over the years, of course, many people have said, well, why don't you continue with the whole body, do everything? And by everything, we're talking about all the joints and structures, but we're also talking about the organs, the endocrines, the fascia, the parts of the brain, etc. And this is something I've wanted to do for a long, long time because it was one of my expertises way back when I did a lot of biopsychology and so on, and bioenergetic psychology. And because to me, when you learn this well, just as a patient walks in the room, you're immediately going to be struck by a lot of the work that's going on. They sit down, you can immediately tell if they've got deficient adrenals, or they've got kidney problems, or bladder problems, or they've got intestinal problems, etc. And by the way they walk and the way they sit, you'll know a great deal of the psychology of what's going on in their life. Because once you learn the basics of it, and I'm going to be teaching all the basics again, although you've done some of them, but it's all the relationships. In other words, when you relate to the hip, to the shoulder, and then the intrinsic muscles of the spine, which tie them all together, and you look at the whole picture, you get an incredible insight into the body. And so it goes for all the structures. So what's going to happen, I'm doing this series of courses that I'm starting with the hip, intrinsic muscles of the spine, and the pelvis, sorry, the shoulder and the pelvis, and not only going through the muscles and their relationships, but then the interplay of how it occurs, and therefore how the hips work, the shoulders, and all the things you can tell by the way the shoulders work and the way they're held and their posture, etc. And then the psychology of that. And of course, once we get into all that, we're also then getting into all the types of diseases that will emerge from that. And again, structure, we know structure can govern function. And very often, once you start working with all that and start tying it all together, then you're going to get a much, much bigger picture of what is actually going on in the patient. And you're going to get a lot more variety of links. And more important, behind those links is a much deeper understanding of what's happening. And you'll be able to explain to a patient in much greater depth. Because, when they've got the chronic shoulder problem, we know that according to what part of the shoulder is sore and what movements are restricted, that tells you a great deal about what's going on in their life, particularly in the field of responsibility. We know that that's the shoulder, but is it fear of responsibility? Is it resentment or anger about responsibility? Is it worry about responsibility? What type of is it responsibility of work, or the responsibility of parenthood, or marriage, etc.? And you start seeing it. Plus, I also will bring it in that often you'll tell just from the environment, because you can do muscle tests that if it's worried about, they worry about parenting and the responsibilities of it, you'll find that you can explain to them, and they'll see it, that their shoulder gets worse when their children are around. Children walk into the room and suddenly their shoulder's really bad. And if it's their relationship, when their wife is near them, right, or hops into bed with them, suddenly their shoulders, parts of their shoulder can get mad. It could be anger and resentment around their sex life or something, or it can be worry about the responsibilities, or it can be fear of failure, fear of the breakup, etc. And you can teach the patient to be very, very aware that even our physical posture and structure and long-term stubborn problems are often associated with environmental factors, which means then you can sort of tie in there and teach them that understanding, which is important. And then, of course, they'll understand then why you include environmental treatments in the treatment of the various body parts, And of course, by linking them to the organs, you'll also see why different structural problems could be affecting their liver function or their pancreatic function, or vice versa. People can have a toxic liver poisoning that is then going to profoundly affect many aspects of their posture. It's an exciting field. It's a field I really love. It's something I've been teaching, well, had been teaching for many, many years. I used to teach it as a postgraduate course in college in Australia. And I've been wanting to get heavily into it in Body Talk. And I introduced it, but now I want to take it the whole thing. And I'm going to break the body up into several courses and then gradually tie everything together. So it's exciting. It's one of my favorite things. It and of course Eastern medicine are subjects that I'm very strongly and deeply involved with and have always loved as subjects. So to me this is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of exciting stuff. And as I teach it, there's going to be a lot of interaction and practical as we do it, because I'll be teaching sections and then getting you to work with each other. I'll be using you as examples and so on. So it's going to be a very dynamic, interactive process. And I look forward to you sharing it with me. Thank you.